The custom wheel story is a story about cars, about men and their machines. These men and machines were about going fast, competition, speed, and winning. It's as much about busted knuckles as aluminum or steel. It's about drive and ambition, people and passion. It's about blood, sweat, and sleepless nights. The wheel business was about adrenaline. The hot rod culture grew in Southern California.
I was born and raised in Compton. I don't remember a time where there weren't hot rods around my house someplace. In Compton, I worked in a gas station and I disassembled engines at Reith Automotive for a while. And he'd bring in these 392 Chryslers out of the junkyards, and then he'd give you $20 if you took them apart. Nobody cared about child labor laws or anything like that. When I look at rat rods today, I remember the cars in our neighborhood. They weren't rat rods. That wasn't a style. That was because you had to get the fenders off, channel the body, chop the top and everything so you could drive it to work Monday. There was no time to grind welds and fill things and paint things. Finished cars didn't exist. There was no such thing.
Hot rods and horsepower led to racing, and racing led to all-out competition. By nature, men are competitive. As horsepower grew, speeds increased. Street racing became commonplace. Drag strips were showing up all over Southern California. Lyons Drag Strip in Wilmington, Long Beach, Irwindale, and OCIR in Orange County. Rules for racing were written, racing associations were established, and a whole new cultural lifestyle was born. Along with racing came the practice of cruising the main streets throughout California. Whittier Boulevard, Bellflower Boulevard, Van Nuys Boulevard, and of course, in Central California, the city of Modesto. Hot rodders, racers, and lowriders. Racing and cruising was as much about friends and fun as it was cars. It was about hanging out and showing off, going fast and winning. With more horsepower came the need for more traction. Wider tires were needed. Wider tires needed wider wheels. In the 1950s in Southern California, a number of men saw the need and the opportunity and began building custom wheels. From the very beginning, there was a variety of wheel types, yet limited styles. Steel wheels, aluminum wheels, and a combination of steel and aluminum known as composite wheels.
They could get all the rims they wanted, but centers were hard to come by because we wanted to be able to use this smooth Baldy hubcap, the baby moon cap they call them. There were only a few centers that could use that, so appliance was still using used centers. They would just cut them out, polish and plate them and stuff.
In the beginning, it was the tires driving the wheels. Roy Vachon would take your wheels that were standard. Your offset is in the middle. You know, where you put your lug nuts on, if it's a 7-inch wide, it was in 3.5 inches. But he would cut the center out, flip it around, and the center line would be maybe 2 inches on this side and 5 on the other, and he'd chrome plate the reverse side. So he would take these little 14-inch wheels and 15-inch wheels, cut them apart, chrome plate the center and the rim, weld it back together and put a baby moon on it and resell them to these kids, and they had to bring their old ones in.
But they had a customer named Jim Kavanaugh, and Jim Kavanaugh had a show car. Kavanaugh had plated everything on this T-Bird. I mean, the drive shaft, the rear end, he had everything apart on this car. And in late 1956, he came in and they had to talk about what else they could do, and it was suggested that maybe they could plate the wheels. Roy Vachon, the owner of the company, he figured out that the best way to do it would be to cut the rivets out, take the wheel apart, polish it, and put back together. Roger Ishida was standing there when the parts came out. In those days, there were no such thing as chrome valve stems. In Roger's mind, the idea of that big rubber valve stem sticking out of that chrome wheel would look goofy. The idea came out that if you turned the rim around, put the valve stem on the inside, it would be hidden. So they put them together that way. Kavanaugh liked it that way, so they welded them together, and that is the very first chrome reverse wheel ever made, and it was in about October of 1956.
The first custom wheel was actually a factory wheel, disassembled, polished, plated, and turned inside out. World-famous race car driver and local businessman Parnelli Jones was a major player in the early years of the industry. He tells the story of investing in a company known as Rebel Wheel, which went belly up. He was left with molds and equipment and no expertise to build the wheels. He asked his high school friend Art Hale if he could help him build a wheel that didn't leak. Art figured it out and became a central figure in the wheel industry.
We had all the equipment and I didn't have any faith in these guys. So I went to my friend Art, showed him the wheel. He got interested in it, so he started making the wheel.
Parnelli Jones Incorporated, with their race tire division, wholesale operations, and retail network, became major distributors of US Mag, American Racing, Krager, Rocket, and True Spoke wheels.
We were selling tires and wheels, and things were going great.
Son of industry icon Art Hale Sr., Artie Hale is the founder, owner of MHT Wheels and its family of products. Fuel Off-Road, Niche Road Wheels, Rotoform, US Mags, and the maker of Foose Wheels.
One of the guys at Parnelli, Marvin Porter, bought a bunch of Firestone discontinued slicks, thousands of them. Then it was huge, and they came and asked my dad, he goes, I need a wheel to fit these. That was the part, the tire's still driving it, but that's the first time they put the big slicks in the backs on all the 55, 56, 57s. There's millions of those cars out there.
Today, Art Hale Jr., along with his son A.D., and the rest of the MHT team have the uncanny ability to endlessly develop new styles and brands that target industry trends, as well as any wheel company in the world.
Because in my day, I was one of the first people in a lowrider magazine. I didn't buy one page, I bought 4 or 5 pages. It just blows up.
No look at the early years of Wheels and Tires would be complete without a look at Mickey Thompson, perhaps the most prolific, influential racer, innovator, businessman in the industry at the time. Mickey's impact, undisputed.
In 1 year, his funny cars won 164 races out of 172 starts and 11 out of 12 national championships. In 5 months, Thompson and his loyal crew were ready to go back to Bonneville. At the end of the measured mile, Mickey Thompson and his Challenger 1 set a new one-way land speed record of 406.6 miles per hour.
As the industry grew, an association was necessary. In 1963, SEMA was born. The first gatherings were held in Southern California, and as a result of booming growth, SEMA relocated to its home in Las Vegas. Performance Plus Tire and Wheel Superstore. Hank, his family, and his team have been selling specialty performance wheels and tires to enthusiasts since the very beginning. Racers, cruisers, lowriders, and many, many more trust Hank and his team for their tire and wheel needs.
Gene's Chrome Center in Bellflower was actually a muffler shop. So that's how the business evolved, was through these specialty operations, not through the original tire stores. But Western Wheel was actually, when they came out with the Cyclone 1, the Cyclone 2, they put the aluminum wheel business on fire. As all these companies grew and kind of went into the roaring, the late 70s, early 80s, and the business, I think, was growing. You were seeing these companies, just selling tons of wheels nationally. You had some big players distributing and selling products nationwide. I think super shops went in business in the early 80s. So now you had someone that could afford to advertise nationally, they kind of precursor of Summit and Jegs today.
Doug Dwyer, wheel salesman extraordinaire. From a scared and scrawny kid to a national sales manager, Doug worked for the best. Doug sold wheels by the trailer loads to the industry's biggest players, J.C. Penney, Dick Cepek, Les Schwab, and many others.
I had about half done with this application, and I just slipped it under the window back and gave them their pen back and walked out. I was walking out to my car and was about to get in it, and this guy come walking up to me in a double knit leisure suit, white patent leather shoes and patent leather belt, and blow-dried hair. Scared the hell out of me. And he said, "Where are you going, kid?" I said, "I'm looking for a job." He said, "We're hiring." I said, "Yeah?" And I go, "I'm no salesman." And he put his arm around me in a headlock. He said, "Stick with me, kid. I'll have you driving big black cars, smoking long cigars, and farting in silk." People forget that General Motors, Ford, and Chrysler all had plants here. So there was a company that was building the steel rims right here in Southern California. Norris Industries was actually rolling the rims.
Ron Pushea. Ron was there in the early years. He saw it all, he did it all. He and his friend Jim Smith made the wheels, sold the wheels, and helped develop the Southern California market. Later, he serviced the industry from his own company from the many contacts he had developed over the years.
It originally started with Carroll Shelby. The first wheels, we had 16 wheels. We drilled 14.7 dish mags. 8 of them were drilled for Ford, 8 of them were Chevrolet. Jim Smith was working the machine that was drilling the wheels. It was our job to get out and start selling them. We had to clean them, had a hand clincher, made the boxes up, put some part numbers off, and put them in the thing, and away we went down the road to go sell wheels. From 8 to 5, we were tearing each other's head off. After 5 o'clock, we were all meeting in the bars and laughing and carrying on.
That moment, running into Kavanaugh, probably changed the direction of my life more than anything else that ever happened to me.
The unity and community that is shared by car enthusiasts is also shared by those who work in the tire and wheel industry. The custom wheel business had to happen. Why? Because bigger and faster and wider had to happen. It's in us, especially car guys and gals. Faster, faster, faster. More traction, more speed. For the off-road crowd, bigger and bigger and bigger. To our lowrider brothers, wider wheels and skinny tires. Now fast and furious, stance and stretch, race and rally. This is a story about man and machines. It's about the men that built the products to make it happen. It had to happen.